Hello everyone, Card and Will back at it again. We are in the middle of the LCS Lock-in tournament right now. We just had our quarterfinals. We're very excited for our semifinals coming up. We're going to do a little bit of a hindsight, foresight, something new. We're not going to be doing those daily, every single team things, but we'll keep this as short as we can, 15, 20 minutes, and talk about what happened this past weekend and what we're hoping to see this weekend. I don't know, Card, do you want to
Yeah,
start us off?
yeah, great. So quarterfinals happened this weekend, which were awesome across the board. Uh, just to note before we talk about the quarterfinals themselves, it's kind of important to know who was invited to the quarterfinals and kind of more importantly, who wasn't invited. The two teams that drowned in the group pools were Counter Logic Gaming and Dignitas. And for there are different reasons for both of these teams kind of struggles. Counter Logic Gaming in particular did not have two of the players that they were planning on using for their main roster. Although they
Mm,
did have a really good top laner in Solo who put up really great numbers across the tournament, funnily enough. And Dignitas was just kind of a roster that we mentioned this in our team reviews, but we didn't have a whole lot of high hopes for. And even still, Dardoch looked really good on Dignitas, I would say. I think they were mentioning that on the dive too, that Dardoch looked kind of like he was smurfing
yeah.
on Team Dignitas. But nonetheless, these two teams did not make it. And while they aren't the two teams that I thought were not going to make it, I definitely across the league, these definitely look like two of the weaker teams in groups.
Yeah, I'm definitely disappointed about that. Anyone who saw our earlier videos, I was really banking on uh, CLG being a dark horse for this tournament. Knocked
Mhm.
out in the group stage, so screw me, I
Yeah,
guess. But
tough, tough. But hey, Mr. Brooks is coming in soon.
yeah, I'll blame that on Broxton not being there and just hope for a better
Yeah,
season. I think we'll
adore
find
him.
out.
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for me to be dead wrong and Mark Z and his stuff on the Travis Gafford channel to be just spot on for the season. But
He's
you
he's
know,
all right.
ignoring that, something that I think was also unexpected, Cloud9 looking like one of the weaker teams that we're going
Yeah,
to be
I mean,
seeing this semifinals.
for sure. I would argue that Cloud9 in quarterfinals had the hardest matchup. The quarterfinal matches were 100 Thieves versus Immortals Academy, basically. There was
Yep.
Cloud9 versus TSM. There was Team Liquid. Who did Team Liquid play?
They
Team
played
Liquid
FlyQuest,
played. Team Liquid
which
played
is
FlyQuest.
not
Thank
last
you.
year's FlyQuest, mind you, this
No,
year's
exactly.
FlyQuest.
This year's FlyQuest, and then Evil Genius played Golden Guardians. So
Yeah.
Cloud9 definitely had the toughest opponent to face. But that being said, while the series went the way a lot of people expected, uh, the Cloud9 with a Cloud9 victory,
Yeah.
Cloud9 looked were struggling for a bit, and they went down in the first game even. And there's like kind of a lot of reasons you can attribute to that. In particular, Spico was really working overtime with some really good smite steals, just some really good decision making. But that TSM draft just continues to not impress in my mind. Uh,
Yeah.
Bjergsen Bjergsen lost 3 out of 3 drafts, I believe. Maybe not decisively
That's
lost, but
aggressive. That's aggressive. I
yeah,
think
okay.
there's a
So
defense for the third draft,
yeah,
I think.
the third draft, I think the third draft went even, if anything. But Bjergsen hard lost the first draft, and it was just like Spica difference because Spica kind of went crazy that first game. I
Yeah.
didn't like TSM's draft the second game either, and a lot of this too is Bjergsen is figuring out the coaching role still. We got some insight from Double Lift talking about Bjergsen as a coach, and is like, there's no way Bjergsen is drafting these champions because he thinks they work well together. A lot of it might be because of the TSM players' preferences. We
Mm.
know Huni loves to play Gnar. We know Lost loves to play Jin, even though I was very underwhelmed with the pick in general that series. I picked it 3 times.
Yep. Yeah, that's
Uh,
something that we might like to see Lost get off of, to be honest, is the Jin. Not to say he's doing that poorly. And maybe it's just a comfort thing, new to TSM, filling a big role after Double Lift. But I
mhm.
I just didn't see that much from his Jin that I had hoped to see. So I would love to see him just start doing something out of his comfort zone. I guess it's a little late now that we're out of the lock-in
Yeah,
tournament,
exactly.
but people have been talking
But there
about
are
it. It's a
notes.
lock-in tournament. Like, get after it a little bit. Running
Yeah,
Jin back 3 times in a row. Sure, you want to beat your rival, you want to win the lock-in tournament, but you also want to try stuff out so that you're in form come the start of
Yeah.
the season.
And like important to note, like trying Jin 3 times in a row when Jin like never did well. Even in the game that TSM won, lost and Sword Art went down in the laning phase.
Yeah,
So it's just a really and kind of to that point as well, Sword Art with a really unimpressive performance. I know a lot of League fans
absolutely.
watching the double lift like commentaries that are being released on YouTube and he's doing via his stream,
Yep.
but he said something that I think kind of is puts my point more succinctly than anything I could say, which is you have to be so frustrated watching being a TSM fan and watching these games because Vulcan in particular went overtime. Vulcan and
Yeah,
Sven showed up for this series. And it's just
absolutely.
so frustrating that Sword Art is your like $3 million support, and it's just like a huge support gap between him and Vulcan. Even
Yeah.
like just looking at like Sword Art's play, I would put Huhi and Core JJ and Vulcan all above Sword Art right now. So while I'm of the opinion that this TSM roster is like semi-competitive, I wouldn't even say semi-competitive. It is definitely competitive. We saw a lot of great play out of Huni that we haven't seen lately.
Hooney's
PoE
Gragas was really exciting to watch.
Oh, Hooney's Gragas was so fun to watch. And Hooney had some really good ults. He had a few that missed, but those don't make it into the montages ever. He had
Yeah.
really great ults that he hit too. But at the end of the day, Cloud9's bot lane are just so far and above the rest of the league right now. Besides possibly the 100 Thieves and Team Liquid bot lanes that we've
I
talked
mean,
about in great detail.
yeah, I mean, I think we saw Vulcan get like player of the week there, and I was genuinely surprised because Sven went deathless in the second two games that they won. And
Mhm.
even in the first one that they lost, he was 6-2 and 3. So,
Yeah, I think Sven got player of the series after that series, but like afterwards, Vulcan got player of the week just because a lot of that third game they won was definitely on Vulcan's
oh
back.
yeah, are
It
you kidding me?
was
Vulcan coming around with a cow and just like knocking up three people from out of it.
oh, he's so good. He just found the perfect flank angle, burned 3 flashes at the same time. It was
Yeah,
such a good series.
it was ridiculous.
Yeah, so that was definitely a really fun series to watch. And it was the only series that wasn't a sweep as well. Uh,
Yes, that definitely makes it more fun to watch. Absolutely.
mhm. Yeah,
Compared to something like, TL FlyQuest that I think LS probably said it, where he said TL is playing Clash this weekend, as in like
yeah.
this is not professional, like it's a complete blowout on one
No, are you
side.
kidding me? TL was like fountain diving at the end there. They didn't
Yeah,
really
I mean, what was it? Was it the first game that TL had such a clean beginning of that game that we thought FlyQuest wouldn't even get in at all? TL started to throw a little bit with some mid game play. I
yeah,
remember Captain Flowers being
very
pretty pissed about
critical.
that,
Yeah,
but
they got a bunch of kills back.
they got a bunch of kills back. And part of that, I know Jose Diodo, we were watching that together, right? Jose Diodo on his
Mhm.
Udyr was actually impeccable positioning and very
Yeah.
impressive for the team he is playing into. Um, but it
Hmm.
kind of came down to the fact that they had completely shut them out. Alfari completely smurfing on Licorice. I've never seen
Yeah.
Licorice just get completely outclassed like that.
Licorice
Um,
went from being a top 3 North American top laner, arguably, to getting dumpstered by Alfari. I would appraise Alfari as possibly the best top laner right now, which kind of makes me really hope that we
ooh,
see Team
bold
Liquid in
statement.
100.
Bold
It is very
statement.
bold. I think Alfari. In fact, I almost am certain Alfari's had the best numbers of the lock-in tournament of any top laner. For sure, you can't really give it to him over Someday until they play. I don't think. Or no, they Liquid did play 100 Thieves and lost to 100 Thieves. But I don't think it was like a top gap by any means.
Yeah, I can go get the stats on that, but I was just thinking back to, we're talking about these quarterfinals, and I know, the team isn't very good. 100 Thieves played Immortals. Tapoon definitely isn't as good,
Yeah.
right? As we're talking about Licorice, we're talking about Someday, we're talking about
Yeah.
Alfari. But
Uh,
that was the game
side,
where Someday just completely took over on Jax.
yeah. Side
Um,
note, it was 100 Thieves playing Immortals Academy. Revenge and Insanity both their starting players, and neither of them started that series
yep.
because I think in IMT management they were like, well, we don't have three parts of our 5-man roster. Let's just throw together these guys who have played together before and have some level of synergy, which is like
Yeah,
not bad decision making. I think that
that's
there's like
fine.
a good reason for that. But given I was only kind of so-so on Revenge in the beginning, it was just like so hard to watch Immortals go down in that fashion. And
Yeah.
it's like I mentioned, it's kind of hard to attribute that to Immortals' particular strength because like I said, none of those players that we saw going against 100 Thieves are starting players.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, so it's kind of hard to assess their power because we haven't seen their full roster. But that being said, the only stuff we have is to go off of are the games that they have played thus far. Uh, and Immortals kind of did about how I expected personally, that they made it out of groups and did not make it
Hmm.
any further than that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Immortals, we did a whole session on them, right? And they were already kind of a questionable roster. You switch them out with your academy team, as you said. I like the move, right? We're
Mhm.
talking lock-in tournament. Try some stuff out, um, and already got past group stage, so I agree.
Yeah.
I think they did fine. 100 Thieves is also. I think we're going to be talking about them being a top team, if not the
Oh,
top team in
for
NA this
sure.
year. So I really don't blame Immortals for just getting O2'd in this one.
Yeah,
If
super
anything, I
true.
think we're going to look at the next series, which is, to my knowledge, 100 Thieves Cloud9
C9.
is. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think we're going to look at that, see how C9 does, and say, oh, Immortals Academy might not be that bad. I think C9's at risk of getting is this best three
Yeah.
out of five? Yeah, they're at risk of getting three
Yeah, super
stocked on
3
this one.
Yeah,
Um,
I will not go as far to say that that the Immortals Academy roster will look good in any sort of retrospective, because watching that was a little tough.
that's
Um,
true. That's fair.
that being said, I think that 100 Thieves versus C9 is going to be really interesting. We still have to talk about the other quarterfinals game that was played. But
Yep.
this match in particular is putting Huhi and FBI up against Sven and Vulcan, two of the like hotly contested best bot lanes in North America.
Yeah.
Uh, and there have been complaints by some of like FBI and Hui's play. FBI has definitely been playing very aggressive this lock-in tournament. I don't think it's necessarily to his detriment, but he definitely is like stepping too far forward sometimes, getting caught out more than I saw him get
Mhm.
caught out in Golden Guardians last summer.
Mhm.
But it'll still be a really interesting series to watch. I think kind of the biggest difference that they have is the top lane, where I was not impressed with Fudge very much throughout the lock-in
No.
tournament up until kind of the end of that series. I had not been impressed with Fudge at all. Fudge on Camille in the third game of TSM versus C9 actually I think looked pretty good, even if he had a few questionable plays. But you're gonna need more than that to go up against Someday. Someday
Yeah.
was smurfing at the end of that Immortals series, that second game on Jax. Uh,
Yep.
you're gonna need to bring like your A game, as well as in some ways I think Demonte has been outperforming Perks. Perks definitely is kind of more integral to the success of C9. Looking at some of the content C9 has produced, Perks is definitely a leading shot caller.
Yeah.
But Demonte has been kind of playing better than people have expected him to. He's really good with his roam timings. He's really good with his split pushing. He's kind of continuing to play this like assist map style that he really likes. And it's
Mhm.
working out for them. And if I had to give it to a team, I think it would be 100 Thieves, because I think in general, Blabber and Closer are pretty evenly matched, I would say. Then the bot lanes are pretty evenly matched as well. I think it's really just that top difference that's going to make a whole big issue for Cloud9.
Yeah, and I think this has been a huge topic, right, in LCS recently is the drafts as well. And I think Cloud9 has had some pretty good drafts recently.
Yeah.
Not to say 100 Thieves hasn't, but the question is, will Cloud9 kind of compete against 100 Thieves in this draft correctly, right? Demonte is very good at anything he can be macro on, right? The TF, the Galio. Does Cloud9 pick ban his mid lane champions and really just turn the tide? Because Perks on
Yeah.
this TF, I will say one thing. It's kind of ironic that I'm saying this, given his statement that he's going to go deathless in the lock-in tournament.
Uh-huh.
But Perks hasn't been a KDA player, which I'm not going to say is a bad thing at all, actually.
Yeah.
He's been really sending it into the back line as TF, into TSM. Again, not a bad team, has good players on the team, and
Yeah.
he's surviving sometimes, and he's making things happen as well. Luckily, the rest of Cloud9, as we've talked about, is very good at following up with him. Uh,
Mhm.
you kind of save fudge, but you got Sven on, especially on his Kai'Sa. You have Vulcan, regardless, especially on the cow, I guess.
Yeah.
And then you
Blabber.
have, yeah, Blabber is nuts. First of
Mhm.
all,
The
I
jungle talent this year.
just don't ask him to smite the Baron.
Oh my god, that was ridiculous.
And
The PoE steal.
the PoE steal, which is really, by the way, the Huni steal, because without the Huni
Yes,
cask, that was
the
never
Huni
gonna work.
ult to knock him away, that was crazy. We
Yeah,
were freaking out.
absolutely nuts. So I think if Cloud9 doesn't let Demonte stay in his comfort zone, I think the draft will go their way, and then it's just a question of does that top gap show up, or does Fudge finally start playing in a
Yeah,
rhythm? Um, I'm really going to be watching the bot lane in this series. I think that's the most interesting matchup we've had.
yeah.
And the only next one I'm interested to see is Tactical and Core JJ against whoever if they make it out of
If
their
they beat
series.
Evil
Um,
Geniuses, who had a very convincing 2-0 themselves against Golden Guardians. And Evil
wasn't
Geniuses are
even
kind of a
close.
team, in my opinion, that no one really expected to make it this far. I think people really liked EG and their roster. Like Impact is super good and kind of
Yep.
went under the radar.
Yep.
And they were not bad last spring when they were fielding Jizuke. Um, so I kind of like this Evil Geniuses roster, and I think we were kind of underrating them and underselling them beforehand. But dang, this impact gap right now is insane. Of course, I expect to
Yeah.
see Team Liquid, if they're not going to play the Renekton, ban the Renekton because it has been Impact's comfort champion this entire tournament, and for some reason, no one has been banning it. And even
Yeah.
if like you have your doubts about how good Renekton is as a champion, Impact has been tearing it up. So just taking them off that comfort pick is something that I think Liquid will do more of.
Yeah.
But as we were talking about, kind of like this other series has two of the hotly contested bot lanes. Liquid and Evil Geniuses have two of the most highly contested people vying for like the best top laner right now. Both
Hmm.
Alphari and Impact have been performing so well, and that's going
Absolutely.
to be a really volatile matchup, and kind of the opposite of like what I was talking about with C9 100 Thieves,
Hmm.
where the bot lane will be kind of evenly contested, and the top lane there might be a little bit of a bigger disparity. I'm worried about kind of the opposite when it comes to Evil Genius's chances, because Ignar and Deathly have been playing really well, and particularly I think Deathly has
Really
been
well.
better than anyone expected him to, but they're just not Tactical and Core JJ. They have looked on fire this year, and even though Tactical has had like a few int games where he'll tower dive the bot lane, know that he's gonna die, but just want to pick up the 2 kills anyways,
Yep.
which is like we're talking about that TL are playing Clash right now.
Yep.
That's kind of where some of that perception comes from. But I don't think anyone is doubting that Tactical and Core JJ are particularly still in contention for this best bot lane title, both because of Tactical's amazing, primarily Samira gameplay, but also because
Yep.
Core JJ time and time again cements himself as almost inarguably the best support in the league.
Yeah, even with Vulcan having one of the best game series he's ever had, right?
Hmm.
Each Core JJ is just such a consistent factor, and I mean, maybe things will change, but I don't think Core JJ goes downhill by any means. And also remember, definitely an Ignar. I agree, fantastic bot lane, and I hope that we see them keep up this type of play.
Yeah.
But they were into 6A and newbie. Now they're
Maybe
into
they,
tactical and Core JJ. They went from like honestly lower half. There are only 10 teams, right? So lower half isn't even that much of an insult. It's just
yeah,
facts that there is some really good bot lanes right now in
true.
that top half. So we're going from lower half to like top 3 and that's going to be tough.
Yeah.
I think additionally well you were talking about, the top difference, see what kind of game we're going to get up there between Alfari and Impact. Um I kind of want to see Sven Skaren versus Santorin.
Oh, that is super fair. The XTSM junglers.
Yeah, both XTSM junglers both having a fantastic time. I mean, Santorin just got to Team Liquid, and he was already in the right place at the right time every single moment.
Yeah, he's been doing this for like seasons too. He's like just always where he needs to be.
Yeah.
And he had a really dirty Talia game in particular. I think it was game one of
Yep.
the Liquid series,
Yep. Who is
where he
also
was just doing
the
things.
highest win rate right now, by the way.
Hmm.
Talia
Uh,
jungle.
yeah.
Oh, you know,
Uh-huh.
given games, not like a single one off.
Yeah, she's really strong. I think one of the analysts are saying like if you pick Leona, what's her name? Leona Talia has like an 80 something percent win rate across like all leagues everywhere. So like
Ridiculous. Ridiculous.
Santorin being able to pilot that champ Talia super well, Core JJ with some really impressive Leona play, albeit impressive Leona play that looks like hitting the E button really well. Uh
But
putting in a few
also
really good
impressive
ults.
rel play, which is a similar play style, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I forgot that he played Rel in that second game.
Yeah, and he was kind of, I mean, at points he looked like he was caught out. He used that rel tankiness to his advantage, went in, CC'd, and survived. Actually ended up being oftentimes the only one coming out of that fight.
Yeah.
I
All
mean,
right.
yeah, I think we're gonna have some great games
Yeah.
this
Well, we've
weekend.
talked about it long enough. Who do you have taken that series? Evil Geniuses or Team Liquid?
I've got Team Liquid. I'm sure there are other factors we could discuss. I think Team Liquid is just too solid a team right now, especially if they kind of shape up their mid game against FlyQuest. Maybe they're just screwing around too much by that point, limit testing as it were. But
Yeah.
even if they do that again, I don't see them losing to Evil Geniuses right now,
Yeah.
who are a bit more coin flippy in reflecting their mid laner a little bit in
I
my mind.
definitely I definitely agree. I think kind of I don't want to say the only chance they have, but like the best chance that Evil Geniuses have is if Impact is really serious. I watched an interview of Travis Gafford interviewing Impact today,
Yep.
and if Impact is very serious about how bad he wants to beat Team Liquid after getting the boot for Alfari, I think that is their biggest chance is if Impact overperforms as he kind of has been, but he's going to be going at a whole other level to beat Team Liquid, a team that also, a reminder, is very familiar with Impact. And
Yeah.
to everyone on that team, particularly Core JJ, Tactical, and Jensen, Impact is a known quantity to them. They have played with Impact for a while now. That being said, he's Impact has still been on a tear, so it'll be an interesting series. But I, like Will, am going to be voting for Liquid to take that one.
Yeah. And quick, I know we are beyond out of time. Uh, quick analysis. We're thinking 100 Thieves or Cloud9 on your end.
100 Thieves. I think Cloud9 has a really good shot of taking it. I wouldn't be surprised to see an upset, but I have liked what I've seen more out of 100 Thieves consistency wise. I think they
Yeah.
play macro really consistently well. They're willing to make trades in the macro game, which I don't think a lot of teams are really willing to do right now. And I think that's super smart. And while I think an upset could happen, I just think that top gap is going to really show.
Yeah. I know I said it'd be funny if they three stock Cloud9. I think Cloud9 actually can win this just
Yeah,
based off the bot
for
lane
sure.
performance. I think come straight out of bot lane and just wipe everyone else out. And I think that if they continue to play through their teams like that, Sven is playing out of his mind right now, and so is Vulcan.
Hmm.
So we could definitely see that turn.
Yeah.
Although I think either way, we're seeing a 5 game
I
series
was about to say,
realistically.
I think no matter what, on Friday we're seeing 5 games.
I
I think
yeah. So just so everyone knows, Carter and I will be likely streaming both of these reaction series. We can't actually put the game up, but we will be kind of online. We'll have the game on our own. Maybe you'll be able to hear it. Definitely watch with us because we're going to be talking about all this during the game, and this could be a great time. All
all
right.
right.
Other than that, yeah, see you guys this weekend. Super pumped for these semifinals, and let us know who you think is going to win this. Catch you soon.
See ya.